Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 26. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger.
Hello, Jay.
Hello. The trip back from Commorragh was not as bad as I thought it would be.
I mean, it was still not good.
I mean, a lot of torture on the way back.
Also, I think we took, more left turns than actually makes sense.
That makes sense. The geometry of the webway is quite confusing. It feels like we would have turned back into our own... way, right?
I feel like we almost saw ourselves, our backs at one point. We made a left turn that kind of went 270 degrees to top right.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
It didn't make any sense, but I mean, we're here now, and they dropped us off, so it feels great to be back, finally taking a break this week to just talk about good old regular Warhammer. And man, a lot of crazy stuff happening in Warhammer these days. I mean, we're hearing more rumors, even more so about 8th edition, definitely being a sure thing, which is exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, getting a lot of heavy influences from some other games that we'll talk about in a moment.
Yeah,
but,
we can talk about it right now. We've actually taken a peek a little bit at Age of Sigmar.
You should look up some bat reps on YouTube. It looks really freaking fun.
It looks really fun. And there is some really cool stuff in Age of Sigmar that is appealing just for the simplification reasons. We love strategy. It's the reason why we play 40K. So I love anything that's going to simplify the things you have to look up and remember, but accelerate and expand the strategic options available. That's why we love wargaming. That's why we play 40K. Yeah. So I think if there's a way in 8th edition, they're not going to lose everything because this is their baby.
They can. It's impossible.
It's their biggest selling product is 40K, and their universe is amazing. But if they could find a way to just streamline it to make it easier, not only for new people, because we love to expand the community and have more people join, but also just to make it easier for some of us veterans of this game to remember how to play it, would be awesome.
I mean, even something as streamlined, so now that super heavies are they are just a reality in the game. They're everywhere you see. They're fully legal now, so you will just see super heavies in any tournament format that you play. One really cool thing that Age of Sigmar has is damage tables for super heavies.
Which, if there's one thing if there was anything we could just add to the game, I think that would just be a great thing to add.
That would be awesome, because super heavies are all very powerful.
And if anyone doesn't know what we mean by damage tables to super heavies, in Age of Sigmar, these big, massive, hulking creatures, which are basically their super heavies, when they take damage, they get weaker in how they can fight back.
Their effectiveness is lowered. It could reduce their movement. It could reduce the amount of attacks they get. It's just very cool.
So imagine if you're fighting a Wraith Knight, which not a lot of people are fond of Wraith Knights, I can't imagine why. There's some reason why not everybody likes Wraith Knights. Anyways, I'm an Eldar player, so I'm blind to all of these things. But think of fighting a Wraith Knight, you put 3 wounds on it, you put 2 wounds on it, you take a third of its health away or half of its health away, it loses a lot of its attacks, or it loses its mobility, or it loses something that it's no longer all the way from 6 wounds down to 1 wound, this monstrous murder machine. It now becomes something easier to deal with, and it feels more realistic, which is, look, people either love strategy or they love fluff. This is a perfect combination of both.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if a Wraith Knight at 1 wound had only a 9-inch move and it could only hit on 5s.
Yeah.
That's a huge change.
Yeah, now it's still a beast, so it's wounding and it's doing things much easier, but, it still lowers its effectiveness, and it still means that it's not this crazy murder death bot that everybody fears these days.
And I mean, let's talk about the thing we love, which is the cinematic aspect of the game. That's way more cinematic and fluffy, just to have things actually take battle damage.
Oh, absolutely. So I think if there was, I guess, one of the biggest things to take away, it would be let's bring some of that monster, that super heavy damage into 40K, and now you don't have to feel so overwhelmed when you look across the table and you see multiple Storm Surges or Wraith Knight or multiple Titans, like basically Knights essentially, it becomes a little bit easier on someone that just wants to play something a little bit fluffier.
The only other thing we really wanted to talk about was Codex Frag Cannon.
Yeah, Codex Frag Cannon just came out. Really excited. We've been fans of Frag Cannon for a while. I loved it back in 2nd edition.
But yeah, so Deathwatch Codex came out.
Deathwatch came out.
And that's like the one army that I could see myself playing Space Marines, was because I have that flexibility and because it's so fluff driven.
It's so damn fluffy.
And it's just like, that is very cool to me. Now, it's a super glass cannon army because everything's expensive but very powerful. But like, man, that frag cannon is just...
Yeah, let's all take a moment of silence for a weapon that is a Strength 6, Assault 2, template weapon with rending.
That also acts as in 12 inches, Strength 9 AP2 2-shot gun.
And then a 24 Strength 7 AP3 2-shots. All Assault. Everything is Assault 2.
It's the gun that kills everything.
It's just the gun.
It's for the first time ever, a gun that's literally the best at engaging any target.
Yeah, I can't think of anything it would struggle with. The thing is, like, if the template weapon was still Assault 2, Strength 4, like, it would still be really, really nasty, but it's Strength 6!
And rending. So it's just auto hits, auto ignores cover, high strength, and it rends. And what tips it for me, Jay? It could be Strength 6 and rending template, but the fact that it's 2 of them per guy is just...
For a moment.
So good.
Just imagine, you're flaming 5 guys, right? Normally you get like, maybe if you have 2 flamers in there, you get like 10 hits on 5 guys, and you're like, whoa, that's a lot. It's Strength 4, you're rolling for it, blah, 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 blah. But with 4 frag cannons and a 5-man veteran unit, which you can do, you can get, with just 4 guys, you can get 40 instant hits on a unit at Strength 6!
Oh, and then you take them in the Aquila kill squads. Oh,
yeah, and the formations, you take them in Aquila, so you, like, reroll 1s to hit. If you choose that for your mission tactics, then you reroll 1s to wound because of Aquila.
Or reroll armor penetration rolls of 1, which then makes it, like, they just are the true jack of all trades. They literally can engage anything you want.
Yeah, so... I think at the end here, we're just saying Deathwatch is really cool. It's really fluffy. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And I mean, the models are sexy. The way you can outfit them and all the different customizations you can give them is sexy. And I mean, Codex Frag Cannon is going to be really strong.
It is.
Well, guys, that was some of the rumors and some of the things we're seeing in the community and new releases. And now we're going to get into our favorite segment here at the top, where we talk about our Seasons of the Month.
Jay, you're first.
Damn it. I didn't even get through it all. Son of a bitch. So our Seasons of the Month are where Andrew and I look on our past tournament from this previous month and look at where our biggest mistakes were and where we really screwed up and maybe where we could improve a little bit.
Oh, and but last month was big because it was the one time a year grand tournament at Game Empire.
Yeah, we always go to Game Empire for our tournaments in Pasadena, California, and this was the once a year where they actually do 2 days back to back. So it was 5 games, and it was so much fun. They were packed to the brim with people. I mean, usually we have somewhere between maybe 20 to 25 people that show up.
About that, yeah.
Or even sometimes even a little less, but this time it was like 58, 55 people?
It was definitely 50 plus at least.
It was crazy. I mean, the store was filled to the brim. Every table was covered.
It took over the store.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't do other things that day.
Yeah, but it was amazing. It was so much fun. A lot of different people and a lot of different crews from different teams and areas of California. Even people from out of state flew in.
We had people from Hawaii there.
Oh my God, that's right.
We had a couple people from Britain there.
Yep.
And by the way, just a huge shout out to Travis Simpson.
Travis.
Our TO, man, for running shit. Wow.
The best. If you guys want the best Warhammer 40K experience on the West Coast, come to Game Empire and hang out with Travis and all of us. Pasadena.
All right, so Jay, what's your C's? You're not deflecting.
Oh, what? No. Oh. So anyways, my C's of the month comes from this Hammer of Wrath tournament. And during this Hammer of Wrath tournament, I was running my list. I'm really trying to refine it down. I've made a few changes since this last tournament. But
His Eldar list.
It's my Eldar list that I've been working on for a while. My Pale Court list with my 3 units of Warp Spiders, 3 units of Fire Dragons, the Fire Dragons in a Cloud Strike, which is 3 Falcons and 1 Squadron. And then, of course, the classic units that every Eldar Eldar player takes 3 units of striking scorpions.
Which everybody underestimates, and they always do well.
They always do really well. But yeah, I've been refining that over the last few tournaments, and I brought it to this one, had a really great time, played with a lot of great people, and one game in particular really stood out for me for a big mistake that I made. This was against a player, I forget your name. He was running a Farsight Tau list. So I was really excited to play against a list that had something outside of the normal, like Storm Surges or just Riptide Wings. Now, to be fair, this list did have a Riptide Wing, but
that's just because it's the best.
Riptide Wings, I mean, like, they're everywhere, man. They are...
It's just
the
so
Tau
good.
have switched from becoming an army, trying to take over, like, territories, and just were like, you know what, guys? Let's be Amazon. Let's just be Amazon.com and just sell shit to other armies. But Riptide Wing is real strong, so I don't fault anyone for using it.
Well, I mean, and as you said, he had credence because he was using not only Farsight himself.
Yes, he was using kind of a Farsight bomb, essentially.
He brought back the bomb.
He had the commander with Farsight with, I think it was like 6 or 5 other suits bundled up in a nice big chunk, dropping in to do some real damage. And basically, his army was really cool because he had kind of the no scatter deep strike with Farsight, and I have the no scatter deep strike with Cloud Strike. So at the beginning of the game, it came down to a bit of like, oh, who's going to get second turn? He got it. He picked second, which was great. So the game starts, my Scorpions are getting into place. He does his double shot smart missile system, Ripple Fire blowing up some Scorpions left and right. He did a great job there. Turn 2 comes around. This is really where it matters. I'm rolling for my deep strike, and I get the option with the Autarch, because the Autarch gives me the ability to do +1 or -1 to my reserves. I rolled a 2. So I had a chance to not have my units come in that turn. My Cloud Strike specifically. The Warp Spiders were coming in, but the Cloud Strike very specifically I could make come in the following turn. And I thought, you know what? That Riptide Wing is really nasty. You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to throw them in there, and we're just going to have a blast, and I'm going to try to blow up some Riptides with my Fire Dragons. And boy, was that actually a mistake for 2 reasons. One, I've been doing a really bad job finding a good place for my Autarch in my army, because I ride my Autarch with my Fire Dragons, and the Fire Dragons are going into death every time I send them in. They're dropping in close. They've only got a 12-inch range, so they got to be close to whatever they're shooting, and I'm setting them at the worst thing in any army anyways.
I think in most of your games, at most only 1 or 2 dragons survive.
Yeah, very rarely. Now, they do a lot of work when they come in, but they're also going to get a big stomp back because they did so well when they came in.
You can't leave
People
them
are like,
there.
no, we're going to kill those things. That's a lot of Melta weapons out there to leave unchecked. But basically, the Fire Dragons came in. They did a good job. They killed a Riptide, and they brought another one down to 1 wound. But guess what? Now my entire army is on the board, and now I know he's got a huge bomb coming in with target lock on all his suits, so he can come in and basically multi-fire at my Falcons, shoot at multiple units of Fire Dragons, and my HQ, who's joined to my Fire Dragons, is sitting right there. And he's T3, he's not on a bike, so any Strength 6 or up is going to double him out.
Plasma rifles.
Yeah, right? So, unsurprisingly, his turn 2 rolls around, his Farsight Bomb comes in, and he just blows away all of my Fire Dragons. Now, a few of them survived. I think 1 unit was still alive at the end of it, but he blew away my HQ in no time at all. He just basically decimated that side of the board. And really, all I accomplished there was taking down 1 Riptide, and that was it. Meanwhile, if I had waited a turn and I had counter-deployed my Cloud Strike, his only options would have been coming in to attack the Striking Scorpions, which isn't a great option. Most people ignore them because they are, until they get into close combat, they look like a bunch of scorpion dudes just hanging out in the forest. Pay them no mind. Really, his attention probably would have been on the Warp Spiders. And based on where I had them positioned, I had really good line of sight blocking terrain in the area. I could have flicker jumped them out of range or out of line of sight, and he really would have had a very ineffective turn with his Farsight Bomb, which is really his big prize. And then guess what? My Fire Dragons come in, and that unit isn't that durable. It really isn't that strong to take on that many Meltifiers.
Well, and the important thing is that he wouldn't be able to tank because you have the benefit of no scatter positioning.
Exactly.
Which means you go for the meat, and then
I leave Farsight and the Commander to be the very last, the ones that actually have the invulnerable saves. But then I clean up everything else first.
Yeah, you clean up everything else, and then essentially the full effectiveness of that unit is gone. It's also important to note that this was a regular Crisis Suit squad, which means it was objective secured.
Yes, and that objective secured unit came in a big way to win him the game at the end of it.
Yeah, it got him just the one objective over that you needed.
So this mistake of really focusing down the Riptide Wing, and don't get me wrong, the Riptide Wing is strong, but also at this point he had already double shot. So the Riptide Wing had already blown its load. I should have waited to go for Farsight to get that Warlord, to take away the objective secured, and really reduce the effectiveness of that army.
Yeah.
So that's my C's, guys. If you can counter deploy another deep striking army, do that. You should probably do it. Stupid. Anyways, Andrew, what is your C's of the month?
All right, so this month I was running. I wasn't able to get my orc list done in time. Sad face.
You were so close. You were so close to getting it done in time.
I couldn't finish my Stampa. So because that's 700 points in my army, I just couldn't play them. Like there was no way to fill that in otherwise, because I'm doing a converted Kroot orc army.
Yeah, which is, Andrew, what will your Stampa look like if it is a Kroot orc army?
Why, super ultra mega chicken,
of course. Giant
arise.
Robot chicken.
Chicken arise. It's just going to be a giant robot chicken.
I can't wait.
But instead I decided to take my AdMech, because the AdMech is like, I didn't have a nice, like, I've put my Tau aside for a while. Like I've kind of just been in a bad way with them, so I was just running my AdMech, and my AdMech it's a pretty basic list. It's more fluffy than it is competitive.
There's always that like optimistic feeling, and you and I always talk about this before tournaments. It's just like, I'm like, now Andrew, what armies can you take? You're like, well, I can take this one, I can take this one, and this one, and I'm like, now why do you have that one army in there? It's like, well, I really like these units. It's like, dude, you're gonna get to the end of day one and be like, why did I bring this army?
All right, so basically all my army it's a single cohort cybernetica, so it's 6 Castellan robots, my HQ, and then 3 of the data smiths.
Yep.
In just one unit.
Just an unkillable Death Star.
Super Death Star. Not as unkillable as I thought when you roll as badly as I do.
Well, you're your own formation. If you add the Castellan robots to the Andrew formation, they lose all of these benefits and will roll ones consistently.
That's true. And then attached to that, I also had the one of my favorite formations, which is the Sicarian Killclade. Now, I love Sicarian robot ninjas. They're fucking awesome.
I mean, who doesn't love that idea?
Robot fucking ninjas in space.
Robot ninjas.
I mean, they just suffer from one huge overlooked aspect of their stat line that Games Workshop decided to bypass, which is they are T3.
Yeah, they've got Eldar syndrome.
In a field of strength 6 and above weaponry. And I don't mean like there's some strength 6 like there was in like 5th edition. It means that like 85% of the common weapons in the game are strength 6 or higher. I mean, the entire Eldar army is strength 6 or higher.
Yeah, all of Eldar now is like, what's strength 4? We don't even know. All the shuriken weapons are on the shelf.
Guardians.
Yeah, no one sees those
Dire
anymore.
Avengers. But even
Dire Avengers.
Even your striking scorpions, which no one uses, the Scorpion Claw is fucking strength 6. So
Yeah.
literally, their multi-wounds and their feel no pain is worthless against the majority of the armies.
Yep.
But I still love them, god damn it.
Yeah,
They're
they look
super
really
fun.
cool.
And having a potential 32-inch charge is just hilarious.
It is exciting.
And it did happen a couple times. But I was playing in, I think this was either the start of the second day or the end of the first, I think it was the end of the first day. I was going against an army that was like as Death Starry as Death Starry can go. It was a bike marine list, but it was not Khan. It was not White Scars. It was instead an Iron Hands bike list.
Oh, neat.
Which means that they have +1 to all their feel no pain. So
that sounds nice.
They all had 4+ feel no pain on a T5 model, which is super fucking annoying. But then they also, like, he had a super bomb. He had a Librarius Conclave in there with all on bikes. And
was Tiki in? Wait, Tiki can't ride on a bike.
He can't get a bike.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was a full 4 librarians plus a chaplain plus I can't remember. I just lost it. Their super commander. So like their super commander was like a 3+ save and a 3+ feel no pain and 4 wounds and Eternal Warrior, and it was and strength 10 attacks on the chart, or when he attacks in close combat. It was just like, holy fucking shit, what do I do against this? Now, it's not hopeless, because you would never really get psychic powers against or for his own units or against me, because I did have a Klexus Assassin.
Yeah, Klexus sometimes
very
does
important.
help.
But the mistake I made, I should have just deployed my entire army, because all he had was that bomb, 2 other units of bikes, and like some scouts. And that's it. And if I had just deployed everything in my zone and just been like, I don't fucking care about the rest of his army, on turn 2, I'm literally throwing my entire army into his bomb. I would have been able to kill everything. We've run the numbers because the beauty of the Sicarians is there's a unit of infiltrators in there, and what do? -1 to weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative, and leadership, which means that I'm hitting better than him, and he's also going after me, which is a big deal.
What, to get all your attacks in before he does?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of does stuff, you know?
Seems interesting. Well,
but instead, I decided to infiltrate my infiltrators way behind his line for reasons.
Cool.
And then only kept 2 units of my ninjas in reserve, because that was a good idea.
good call. They were probably very useful sitting in the ship, or wherever they were.
Guys who don't have guns who can then have to wait a turn after they come in to then actually do anything.
Sounds like a good plan so far.
Yeah. So it didn't go well. I was tabled. I lost everything.
Oh, boy.
His bomb went in, because the one major weakness of the cohort, they're good. No, don't get me wrong. They're tough as nails, and they're good in melee. But against a thing that's that resilient, unless the robots are rocking fists and they're just strength 10 everywhere, then, I mean, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
Like, he eventually just wore me down and cut down my whole army, and then I was just like, wow, if I had just done this one thing differently.
I'd put all these things right here.
I also, in desperation, charged my Calexis into his army to then try and challenge out an insta-death characters. And he only has 4+ saves.
Yeah.
And when everything is strength 8 or better, not the best idea.
No, yeah. Then it's just one hit. Oh, he's dead on a 4+ invul save. Well, okay.
So yeah, it wasn't just one, Jay. It was many mistakes were made. And
you were
it was
feeding that grinder. You're like,
it was just
have
like,
some robots, have a Calexis as well.
And yeah, and I mean, it was kind of a shitty end to the day, but it was all my fault. So it was just like, I had a very high probability of tabling his army because it was only effective in close combat, which means he would had to have come to me.
Yeah, he had to have charged at you. He's not just going to sit on the other... You don't sit on the other side of a table with a Death Star. You just throw it at the enemy.
Well, he had to come at me, which would have been like, why didn't I just deploy and then just go at him?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, didn't end well. And that's my C's.
All right. Oh, well. Well, guys, those were our sad tales from this previous tournament. And now that'll be taking us into the Brown Library. All right, here we are in the Brown Library, the inner sanctum of the Black Library, and each month we...
More elite section.
Yeah, the elite section. But you can only have 3 of these if you're taking a CAD Black Library. Wow, that got real weird. Guys, in our Brown Library segments, we like to go onto the Dakadaka forums, where every other episode we like to throw it out to the community and see what kind of undervalued or basically fluffy or underused unit you like to see in an army, and kind of make that the theme and build an army around it. So, Andrew, what do we have for this episode?
Well, because we're doing the alternating months now, we've been doing that for a couple months now, where it's either unit-focused or idea-focused.
Right.
This is the unit-focused one. And we were presented a challenge. Now, I don't think we've actually ever done a Brown Library segment for this army. So this will be a first.
Whoa, I'm very interested to hear what this is.
So,
because we did an army of a bunch of, what was it? The Sisters of Battle, like torture robots?
The Penitent Engines.
We did a whole Penitent Engine army, so I mean, like, sure, what is this all about?
That army is still scary as fuck. But actually, this is ironically related to that.
Whoa, what?
So Poor Spilor, great name by the way.
Poor Spilor, thank you very much.
He said, have you guys done an all Dreadnought list yet? I'd love to hear your take on that.
Oh no,
Thanks.
A Dreadnought list.
If that wasn't a spoiler for what's to come, I don't know what is.
Man, a Dreadnought list.
All right, now let me just preface this very clearly. I fucking love Dreadnoughts. I will say this and I'll get immediate hate for it. I fucking hate the current Dreadnought model. The fucking walking box thing, it really irritates me. It looks like it'll fall over at any moment. And when it was the metal models, they did fall over at any moment. It was just...
Those metal models were very heavy. They could also double as weapons if you were in a jam.
And paperweights. They're also good paperweights.
Great paperweights.
But Forge World came out with the Contemptor Dreadnoughts originally, which the Contemptors are what the original Dreadnoughts were back in like 2nd edition, where it just looks like a giant Space Marine, which is what you'd imagine they'd put like a near dying Space Marine into is just a bigger Space Marine.
Yeah.
But then they decided to take that and make walking trash cans. But then, or as some people put it, the angry fire hydrants.
Now, for some defense of the angry fire hydrant, I actually do enjoy that model a little bit. So I know that's fine. That's fine.
There are variations of the model I
Okay.
like, but the traditional one is just so boxy and weird.
He's
and
so boxy
stunted.
because he works out. Those robot pecs are so strong you can't even see his head anymore.
But
They've
he's-
gotten so big they've engulfed his actual head.
It's just like with the Castellan robot and why mine are a little extended in the hip section, just because the torso just merges straight into the legs.
You don't
and
like
it's
those
weird.
box spots?
But yeah, so they came out. Forge World originally came out with an updated version of Contemptors, and then Games Workshop, in their now good wisdom, decided to come out with their own version of the Contemptor, which is basically just like a revised version of the Forge World one, since they own Forge World. And it's a fucking gorgeous model. I love Contemptors. They're my favorite Space Marine thing. It's just a giant fucking Space Marine. Like,
Yeah.
well, that Space Marine's about to die. Let's just make him a bigger, angrier Space Marine.
They follow the Iron Man logic, where he's just like, well, I'll just make my suit bigger. I'll just put my suit in a bigger suit.
Yeah.
That's a bigger suit.
It's a Hulkbuster. That's what they are.
I would love to imagine that, like, those Space Marine Dreadnoughts is a Space Marine getting in a Centurion armor and a Centurion armor stepping into a Dreadnought armor. Well, those are the 3 hull points. You got to get through the Dreadnought armor, then you get through the Centurion armor, and then you get through the Space Marine armor.
Now, unfortunately, Dreadnoughts, like all non-super heavy vehicles, suffer from the problem of vehicle syndrome, which
Yeah,
is just
vehicle syndrome is real, guys. I mean, talk to your doctor.
grab immobilization at any moment. And
So brutal,
and,
especially on a walker.
Yeah, it's just like they should just ignore that shit. But then also, the possibility of just getting hit once and being killed outright. I mean, it's just shitty.
It's really shitty.
When you have monstrous creatures, when things that don't follow the same rules, like, and I'm a Tau player, Tau Battlesuits, which is basically an equivalent to that. Now, the one thing that is cool about hull points, if they didn't have those weaknesses, is that with hull points, you're immune to certain weapons, essentially. Mm-hmm. But the Contemptor specifically actually has, it's like a good bridge gap for that stuff. It's 13 armor in the front, automatically great.
Nice.
12 armor on the sides, 10 armor in the back, so it is resilient. 3 hull points. It comes stock with a 5+ invulnerable save against shooting.
That's nice.
And a 6+ against close combat. So it has, like, an actual save at all times.
Wow, that is unique.
Which is, like, a big deal. But then it's actually, like, really fucking dope stats. Like, I didn't really read the Contemptor rules until Poor Spilor presented this challenge, essentially.
Thank you, Poor Spilor!
And I was like, holy shit. Now, they are expensive at like, a base 170 points a model, but it's just like, they have weapon skill and ballistic skill 5.
Whoa, that's surprising.
With initiative 4 and base 4 attacks.
Well, you know what? When you don't work out your chest as much to overtake your entire face, you can actually see better, and then thus you can swing better.
It makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
But then as well, their armament, they've got a stock Power Fist, which, unwieldy doesn't affect Dreadnoughts, so they're striking at I4 with Strength 10.
Not
That's
bad.
Always great. As much Strength 10 as you can get is always a good thing with all those T5 Death Stars these days.
The number one thing we say here at Roll to See is Strength 10. If you can get it, go for it.
But then they also, like I said, with the invulnerable save, their gun is really, really awesome.
What's their gun?
They have an enhanced assault cannon.
Enhanced.
So it's a 15-point upgrade, but it's purely worth it because otherwise it just has a multi-melta, just stock like any other Dreadnought. Mm-hmm. It's got this crazy, it's like kheres pattern assault cannon. It's a 6-shot rending assault cannon.
Ooh, boy.
Assault cannons normally have rending, but it gets 2 more bonus shots.
2 more shots in there.
And it's BS5.
Wow.
Which is just like, oh, that thing's suddenly really scary.
That sounds nice.
And they can be taken in units of 1 to 3. Now, normally I don't know why you'd want to do this because it's putting too many eggs in one basket, in my opinion.
Usually, especially with a unit that can still get grabbed down to being nothing.
Now, the only downside to the unit is that they can't take a drop pod as a dedicated transport.
That is sad.
That's kind of irritating, but it's not the end of the world, and I'll tell you why. One, because in the Angels of Death supplement, the supplement that we kind of just passed over because it had the new psychic powers in it, which kind of everybody just focused on.
Yeah.
Well, it came with a new Space Marine Decurion in it.
Interesting.
It has this, like, armor-focused Decurion, which I was like, holy shit, could this actually work? And the core that you have to take, you don't have to take an HQ section. It's just a core and a minimum of 1 core and a minimum of 1 auxiliary.
Oh.
And one of the choices for auxiliaries, and you can have an infinite number of auxiliaries as long as you have the points. One of the auxiliaries is just what's called an ancient, which is just a dreadnought of one of 3 different types, either classic, a Contemptor, or a ironclad.
Oh, cool.
One of the cores is literally just 3 land raiders. You just take that.
Just take 3 land raiders.
Or, and I'm still caught on whether or not that's the better choice, but I instead decided to go with the other thing, just to have like a guy as a warlord, and it's like fluffy because he's a Techmarine.
Oh,
so you
cool.
can take a Techmarine and then 0 to 3 Thunderfire cannons, and then 3 in any combination of either whirlwinds, predators, or Vindicator tanks. So
All these names I just never hear anymore.
No one ever
Predator, Vindicator.
yeah, so it's just like, oh, this is kind of interesting, but then where the command benefits go into play is this entire formation, every vehicle ignores crew shaken and crew stunned.
Now that is pretty nice.
So then suddenly the Contemptors don't have to take extra armor to ignore crew stunned and just ignore everything outright, and they can never be stopped from moving unless they're immobile.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
That is really nice.
And especially when Grav, because they have a stock 5+ invul against shooting, when Grav, remember, if you have 6 Grav hits, only one of those will generate a mobilized result, which you have a 33% chance to ignore.
That's better than nothing.
Well, also because it's on a 20, the max range Grav, unless you're against like Cataphrons from AdMech, is 24 inches, means you're always going to be in kill range of these robots, which is just like, you could maybe immobilize it, but if you don't, it's gonna be in your grill with
That's
a
true.
6-shot BS5 rending gun. So like, the way this army works is that I just decided to take 3 Vindicators because
Why not?
normally the cheapest option is just 3 whirlwinds, but the army doesn't really suffer for anti-infantry at all. So I was just like, let's just take 3 strength 10 AP2 large blasts.
Not a bad way to go.
I mean, you deal with Death Stars that way. It's just like,
Man,
pew, pew, pew.
is it the Devastator cannon?
It's the Demolisher cannon.
Demolisher cannon. Oh man, this is taking me back like a decade ago when, man, I remember that thing. It looks like literally just a giant crater on the front of a tank.
Yeah.
It's the barrel. You could fit like a dreadnought in that barrel.
Oh, you could fire. I mean, I just imagine it fires explosive Space Marines out
yeah,
of
it
the
basically
barrel.
fires Marines out of it. It's so huge.
And they're so angry they explode in fury.
Boom.
But I mean, it's the benefit of this is that you can't ever stop them from firing.
What?
They ignore Crusader.
Oh, that's right.
They can never be made to do snapshots, which means the gun can always fire provided the gun's still alive.
That is pretty fun.
I was like, wow, that's actually really powerful. So then, like, even doing simple things like forcing a crew shaken result and then the whole thing is just sitting there, that no longer applies. And then I also took 1 Thunderfire cannon, basically just as some anti-infantry option and for a place for the Techmarine to just sit so he doesn't die instantly.
Right. That's not a bad idea.
Now, the rest of the army, Jay,
Yes.
is 7 Contemptor
Jesus.
Dreadnoughts. Originally, it had some ironclads in there, but I was like, it doesn't need
What am I
those.
doing here? What am I doing? I gotta put 7 of these bastards in here.
I like Contemptors, and the more I could put in, the more happy
So
I
with
was
the
gonna
Ancient,
be.
does that mean there's 8 Contemptor Dreadnoughts?
No, you have 3 Vindicators and a Thunderfire and a Techmarine.
Gotcha.
That's your core.
Gotcha.
And then you have to take 1 auxiliary, which is a Contemptor, and then there's just 6 other Ancients.
So just 7 Contemptors.
So there's just 7 Contemptors,
Wow.
all with that enhanced assault cannon. So they're all rolling up at 24 inches, so 30-inch threat radius with them, with their guns. I mean, BS5 with 6 shots and strength 6 and rending is damn nice.
Yeah.
And because there's 7 of them, I mean, like, good luck. Do you have that much anti-armor to get rid of all of them in one turn? Because they're 13 armor in the
So
front,
much 13 front armor.
which means they're immune to scatter lasers. Like,
Yeah, wow. I didn't even think about that because there's so much strength 6, especially Eldar. Like, I mean, all that scatter is basically just null at this point.
yeah, I mean, like, even if you get a bad scatter with warp spiders and you're in the front, then they suddenly can't hurt the thing. And it's
Yeah.
just like...
They
oh.
go butt to butt. They do the flying V. The
Yeah.
Contemptor Dreadnoughts are doing the flying V up the table.
Well, and the convenience of the Contemptor Dreadnought is actually their sides are quite small. So like to get into a side arc is actually really difficult.
Really tricky, yeah.
Their front is really wide. So you have to like be at like a 90 degree to be able to get side armor.
Everybody in. Yeah. Also, and if you fail, you don't want to be that close to a Contemptor Dreadnought because they can still be pretty mean in close combat.
It's weapon skill 5 with 4 attacks base with a strength 10 AP2 initiative power fist. Like,
that's pretty good.
They kill super heavies.
Yeah,
like,
they do.
I was like, Knight can go in and fight like 1 or 2 of them, but then it's gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a lot of strength 10 attacks coming at.
A normal Knight, they're hitting on 3s with just say 2 Contemptors. Like, say a Knight fights them. The Contemptors get the charge, which means the Knight has 4 attacks. It hits with 2 of them, assuming just focuses on 1 of them. Let's just say that. And then on the D table, it doesn't roll a 6. It will likely kill the thing in 1 hit, but if it only kills 1 of them, that other Contemptor could just insta-kill that.
Well, aren't
Knight.
they striking at same initiative? They both be initiative 4.
They're both initiative 4.
So no matter what, like 2 Contemptors that go in, that's 10 strength 10 hits that's hitting that Knight. Like,
on 3s.
Probably gonna die.
It's just gonna kill it.
Like, it'll kill a Contemptor, I'm sure, with its D weapon on the strike back, because they're simultaneous, but they're 2 separate units, so it's not going to flow over to the other Contemptor, and that's it. That Knight is dead.
Yeah,
and it killed a Contemptor on the way out.
I mean, think about it, even against something like a Wraith Knight, they either just sit in cover and blast away with rending guns and just be like, well, if you come at us, you don't have grenades.
We need 6s anyway to wound, because it's strength 6 with the enhanced,
strength 6,
right?
So yeah.
So, I mean, they need 6s anyway, and they're all going to be rending, so they're going to be making invul saves or feel no pains anyway.
Yeah, so it's just like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, these guys are actually pretty nasty, and that slight change of just making them 13 armor in the front, like,
that really reduces a lot. I mean,
that is a game changer.
That's a game changer. I mean, for Knights, that's really annoying for a lot of armies to deal with just regular Knights because of the front 13 armor.
Absolutely. So then, like, man, just 7 of these things.
God, that's so many Dreadnoughts.
And 3 Vindicators. Like, I would love to go against the Death Star army with this, because I would just be like, well, here's 3 pie plates that are ignoring your feel no pain, and then here's 7 Contemptor robots going in, all with strength 10. Like, have fun.
Oh, God.
I mean, you think about that. A strength 8 power fist is only doing damage on a 5 or a 6, and you still get a 6+ save against it. Like,
that's really crazy.
It's brutal.
It's nice, and they don't get stunned. No stun or shaken with that list.
You can't stun or that. You can't stop them from moving.
Yeah, they will always move and they will always shoot, and then unless you immobilize them, but otherwise they're still gonna fire on their turn.
It's super annoying.
Yeah, it sounds like a really fun list. And we should say, like, for anyone, we always talk a little bit about the fluff. For anyone that doesn't know what a Dreadnought is, can you explain a little bit of what a Dreadnought actually is in just the Space Marine fluff?
Okay, so basically, StarCraft has a very similar thing with Dragoons and Immortals and stuff like that if you play StarCraft. But if you're getting into 40k, what a Dreadnought basically is when a Space Marine is mortally wounded, meaning they're not dead, but they're dying, they can't be recovered. They put them, in essence, into a sarcophagus. And this sarcophagus has, like, tons of... They're, like, embalmed in things.
Like,
and,
tons... It's like a mummy tank, basically.
Yeah, like, they're encased in fluid, and it's got all of these life support systems. It basically keeps them alive just enough that they won't
to keep
die.
Fighting.
But it's like, imagine it's a Space Marine, has nothing left but, like, half an arm and, like, part of its torso. He's still alive, but he can never really function again, even with cybernetics.
Right.
They stick them in and especially if they're, like, an important person, then they stick them in a Dreadnought, and the Dreadnought can keep them alive almost indefinitely.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you have basically these walking fish tanks, essentially, filled with Space Marine pieces inside, goop. Space Marine goop. Legendary Space Marine goop. Let's be very clear about that. Running around just beating people to death with these giant robot fists.
With extremely powerful weaponry and, like... Oh, that was the other thing I forgot to mention about them having these 6-shot assault cannons, is they can engage any target in the game.
Oh, because it rends.
It's normal rending, which means it even hurts Knights on front armor.
See, that's pretty cool. It's a really big kind of, like, fuck you to the meta, sort of like, how Dreadnoughts are just, like, basically, we all can say pretty honestly that Dreadnoughts are on the shelf at this point.
They're in a bad way.
Something is done either with Grav or something is done with Walker. Something needs to change for Dreadnoughts to be relevant again. But this is, like, a really good solution of just like, oh, you think Dreadnoughts are weak? Well, fuck you. I've got 7 Dreadnoughts.
I forgot to mention something.
What?
The Dreadnoughts get chapter tactics.
Oh, really?
Which means the entire formation is Iron Hand, so everything that's vehicle has it will not die.
That's really funny.
And Contemptors have fleet stock.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome. As an Eldar player, we rely on fleet a lot of the time.
So those charges are happening.
That's pretty nice.
And
wow, that's a really nice bonus.
Yeah, so like the 185 point tag seems like a lot, but then when you really start to equate everything that adds into it, including the chapter tactics, you're like, actually, they're really annoying to kill, because you're like, man, I managed to immobilize and take a whole point off that one, except he just regenerated it, and he's still just a turret platform of 6 shots at BS5.
God,
so it's just like,
somebody please make this Contemptor Dreadnought army. It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Amazing.
Like, I was afraid at first because immediately when I thought Dreadnought, I was like, well, they all have to be in pods, and then I was just like, actually, they really don't.
Just walk them around. 13 front armor is pretty durable. So that first Alpha Strike, they're going to hold up pretty well.
Oh, man. I would love to see the look of a scat bike player's face where all they have is like, scat bikes, and they're just like, shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
Sorry. Oh, man. Well, that's awesome. What's the name of this list?
It's called The Ancient. It has to be
I love it. The Ancient. That's an awesome name. And it is. They're what? They're 10,000 years old, right? Contemptor Dreadnoughts?
Contemptor Dreadnoughts are at least... they're definitely very old.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. I love that. The Ancient. Guys, somebody let us know if you play an army with 7 Contemptors. We want to know about it. We'll give you a shout out here on the podcast. All right, guys. Well, that was episode 26 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode of this segment every last Wednesday of the month, with Dark Heresy episodes kicking off next week on the first and second Wednesday, and 40K Arena every third Wednesday. And if you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's ARC with a C. You can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com or chat with us on dakadaka.com and help decide the next Brown Library segment. Search for fluffy/underrated units in the 40K general discussion forums. Of course, you can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram for tournament and model picks at partialarc. Thanks for listening, and your fun fact for this month is...
Most players may not know this, but Terminators are actually just using a dumbed-down version of Dreadnought armor.
Wait, what? Really?
It's called TDA armor. It's Tactical Dreadnought Assault Armor.
So they just, like, took the classic armor and they were just, like, basically shaved it down.
To where an actual living Space Marine can
They shaved all the hull points off of it. So they're like, how many? Oh, we got these 3 bulky hull points.
You're fired,
we
Jake.
just gotta shave those off. There we go. We got it down to toughness. I heard a rumor from the Eldar and Tau how to do this. Just shave off the hull points and you're fine.